everyone. Welcome to Mental Health Bites. In this podcast, we'll cover a timely topic related to psychology, answer one of your burning questions, and leave you with a practical, actionable tip to improve your mental health every single day. Let's dive right in to the timely topic of the day. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that touches all of us, whether you're in a relationship, single, or somewhere in between. With Valentine's Day here, love is on everyone's mind. But while roses and chocolates are lovely, there's something even more important that we need to talk about: how your attachment style and love language shapes the way that you give and receive love. Understanding this can help you deepen your current relationships or prepare for healthier ones in the future. And this is not just about romantic love, it's about showing love to important people in your life, no matter what your relationship with them is: family, friend, or a colleague. And trust me, whether you're spending this Valentine's Day with a partner, with family, friends, or enjoying your own company, this episode has something for everyone. Let's start with attachment styles. Some of you know that I recently wrote a book, The New Rules of Attachment. And actually, this month, the paperback of this book is debuting. So if you haven't picked up the hard copy or you want to try to get a paperback, please go to your favorite bookseller, including Amazon and other places where books are sold, to check it out. So, attachment styles has always fascinated me because I know how important early childhood influences are in shaping who we are, our self talk, our belief in ourselves, as well as what we look for in relationships. Attachment is one of the most fascinating areas in psychology and one that deeply influences the way that we relate to others. Attachment theory was developed by British psychologist John Bowlby, and it helps explain how we bond, beginning with our earliest experiences in childhood with our primary caregivers. The way we attach to our caregivers back then often forms the blueprint for how we approach romantic and platonic relationships in adulthood. There are four primary attachment styles. People with secure attachment, the first attachment style, generally feel comfortable with intimacy and independence. They trust relatively easily, handle conflicts in a healthy way, and are generally not afraid of closeness with others, but also they're not afraid of being alone. Secure attachment often stems from having caregivers who are responsive and nurturing. Studies show that anywhere from 20 to 35% of people have secure attachment styles most of the time. Individuals with anxious attachment, the first of the three insecure attachment styles, tend to crave closeness but often fear abandonment. They may overthink messages from their partner or other people, feel clingy, or need frequent reassurance. Oftentimes, they're chronic people pleasers at their own expense. These behaviors stem from inconsistent caregiving in childhood, where love and attention may have felt unpredictable or predicated on something like a give or take. Research shows that about 20 to 25% of people fall into this category. Those with avoidant attachment, the second of the three insecure attachment styles, tend to overvalue independence, sometimes to the extent of avoiding emotional closeness. They may busy themselves with hobbies, work projects, just so that they don't have to overly rely on others. They often shut down during conflicts or feel overwhelmed by intimacy or emotional expression. This behavior often originates from caregivers who were emotionally distant or dismissive when this person was young, or perhaps parents gave them a message that emotions shouldn't be discussed or talked about. Avoidant attachment accounts for another 20 to 25% of people based on studies. The final attachment style is disorganized attachment. Sometimes people think that this is a mix of anxious and avoidant traits, but actually, I think that it's much more related to being in a chronic state of fight or flight all the time. People with disorganized attachment styles tend to struggle with feeling stable and safe. Oftentimes, they'll challenge the people in their lives and set up tests for them unwittingly because they really don't believe that people will be there for them. This can lead to self sabotaging actions, and oftentimes there is a push pull complex that happens in many of their relationships. Disorganized attachment usually stems from early trauma or inconsistent sometimes fearful caregiving environments. It's somewhat less common than avoidant and anxious attachment, but more people express disorganized attachment than you might realize. Many people who have disorganized attachment are not necessarily disorganized attached in their behaviors all the time, but when they're under stress or when something triggers childhood trauma or stressors, that's when those disorganized behaviors will come out. Now, I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about love languages. Many of you may have heard of this concept. It was popularized by Dr. Gary Chapman. Love languages describes the different ways we express and receive love. You can think of it as possibly a blend between personality traits as well as some relationship to attachment styles. And this is because oftentimes we develop our love language based on what we observed in childhood and what we think represents love. There are five main types of love languages. First is words of affirmation. These are verbal expressions of love, praise, or appreciation. A simple, I love you can mean the world to someone whose primary love language is words. Second, acts of service, doing helpful things for your partner, like making them breakfast or running errands. This is all about actions and not just words. The third love language is receiving gifts. Gifts are seen as symbols of love and thoughtfulness. It's not about materialism, but about the meaning behind a gift. The fourth love language is quality time, giving someone your undivided attention, whether it's having a deep conversation or watching a movie together. Presence matters most if this is your love language. The fifth type is physical touch. This includes hugging, holding hands, or simply sitting close. For these individuals, touch is a direct connection to feeling loved. So, how does attachment and love languages interact? Well, there are many intersections between these two concepts. For example, people with anxious attachment may gravitate towards words of affirmation because verbal reassurances soothes their fear of abandonment. Those with avoidant attachment may prefer acts of service or receiving gifts because these forms of love feel less emotionally intense and yet they can still feel supported. Securely attached people often appreciate physical touch and quality time, thriving on closeness without fear. And for those with disorganized attachment, love languages can shift sometimes. On some days, they may need affirmations. On other days, they pull away even if they desire closeness, but perhaps they can accept acts of service on those days. So, when you look at public figures, I actually think that some of them, when you observe their behaviors, at least in public, they demonstrate a certain type of love language interplay between the two of them. Consider Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They have frequent displays of affection, hand holding, and vocal support. That to me points to a strong secure attachment dynamic between the two of them. Now, they may not have had secure attachment growing up, but I think that their relationship with one another seems to suggest a secure attachment dynamic. On the other hand, celebrities like Kim Kardashian have spoken about past relationships involving emotional distance, and that might highlight avoidant attachment traits. Now let's shift to the Q&A segment. This is a question from Kelly in San Diego. And Kelly says, Hey, Dr. Judy, I've noticed that I often feel anxious when my partner doesn't verbally express love, even though they frequently show it through actions. Could this be related to my attachment style and love language? Kelly, awesome question. And yes, this can be absolutely tied to your attachment style. What you're describing aligns with anxious attachment paired with words of affirmation as your love language. You naturally look for verbal reassurances to feel secure. So when your partner does nice, thoughtful things for you, of course, that's nice, but it just doesn't resonate the same way as words of affirmation. So, a really important tip is to communicate this to your partner directly. Now, as somebody who has anxious attachment, that might make you feel nervous. You might see this as a confrontation. But if you don't tell them, your partner is doing all of this thinking that you're pleased, thinking that they're showing you love and caring, and it's not resonating. So, be direct. Let them know that while you appreciate their actions, what you really appreciate even more is words of affirmation because that really makes you feel connected and safe with them. You can also ask them what their preferred love languages. I bet that your partner, because they're showing their love towards you in this way, is somebody who prefers acts of service, for example. So maybe you will help show your love towards him with acts of service, and then he can learn to show his love toward you with words of affirmation. And that all starts with that direct communication. I hope that was helpful, and please keep me posted on how that goes. Now let's move on to the practical tip of the day. Today's exercise is all about discovering and aligning love languages and attachment styles. Understanding your attachment style and love language is vital for deeper connections with people who are in romantic relationships with you, as well as other forms of important relationships. And so remember, if you're single, this can still be a very transformative exercise for you. I'd also like to infuse this exercise by recapping my core three framework. This is a framework that I've introduced before that helps you to build a well rounded support system by identifying three key roles in your life: the mentor, the encourager, and the challenger. Each role contributes to personal growth and relationship health in unique ways. The mentor guides you with wisdom and experience. The encourager offers emotional support and positivity, and the challenger pushes you to grow by holding you accountable. And if you're in a romantic relationship, I'd invite you, as the first part of this exercise, to take a love language quiz as well as an attachment style quiz. I have a free attachment style quiz on my website, drjudyho.com. It's also in my book. And the love languages quiz is also accessible through John Chapman's website. Compare results with your loved one and discuss how each love language and attachment style manifests in your relationship. The second step is to practice a daily expression of that. Tailor your daily gestures to your partner's love language. I'd also suggest that you document this in a notebook. And at the end of the week, you can do this third step together, which is to reflect on how these daily gestures, however small they are, has made an impact on deepening your relationship with this person. I'd also add that if your romantic partner is part of your core three, recognize which role your partner serves. Is it the mentor, encourager, or challenger? And also discuss how this enriches your relationship further. Now, if you're single and you want to tailor this exercise for a loved one that is a friend or a family member, think about doing the above steps that I just reviewed, but apply these daily gestures to a special friend or an important family member. And also reflect on which connections act as your mentor, encourager, or challenger. Maybe you're wanting to focus on deepening your relationship with a friend who is your mentor. So direct these steps towards that person. Explore your attachment style and your love language preferences with this person, and do something that helps them to show how much you appreciate them every single day. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Mental Health Bites with me. If you liked what you watched, then there's plenty more where that came from. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon so you never miss an update. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and leave a comment below with your thoughts or any questions you have. Also, feel free to share this video with your friends and family who might find it useful. Stay tuned for more helpful content, and until then, take care of your mental health.